Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a very honest, vulnerable video. I'm a little bit nervous and a little bit scared, but I feel like this can touch a lot of people, and I feel like if I would have had this, things would have been much better for me growing up. But I have a highly functioning form of autism. My particular condition is actually called Asperger's Syndrome. You know, there's a lot of research and everything on it, so if you want to educate yourself, feel free. I'm just going to speak to my experience and the things that I've gone through to overcome certain hang-ups and stuff that come with my condition. I was always a bit of an outcast. I always had a very tough time making friends and being able to connect with people. And it frustrated me because I didn't understand why. On one hand, I didn't want to connect with people. And then on the other, I really, really wanted that experience. And I was envious of everybody else who could sit and, engage in small talk and just pick up conversation so easily. I just have always, it's still to this day, obviously, I still have always had a tough time with that. One of the early signs that I had with that was not understanding emotions or sarcasm or irony. I mean, the idea of that just boggled my mind. Like, I just didn't understand. Why say something if you don't mean it? Or why do something? Or, it didn't make sense to me. It didn't. And when someone was upset with me, like my mother or my father or a sibling, I didn't understand why. I mean, I didn't get it. I don't get it. Like, what do you want from me? What do you want me to do? And it was just this constant feeling of being misunderstood, not knowing how to communicate those emotions that I was feeling, and not being able to communicate that I was sorry for whatever I had done, because one side of me didn't see anything wrong with what I was doing, And another early sign was me refusing to step away from anything that I was not finished with. It's very common. I just refused. I had a lot of parent-teacher conferences. There's a car passing. I had a lot of parent-teacher conferences and a lot of my mother with my teacher saying, she just doesn't participate in class. She's not interacting. She just kind of stays to herself, and I'm worried. And whenever we would move on to different, subject, or, okay, put that away and work on something else. I'm like, no, I'm not done. I'm not moving on. And I get so frustrated and so angry because I wasn't done yet. I wasn't ready to move on. And I just didn't understand why she was trying to force me to do something that I did not want to do, And another part of that obviously would be intimacy, and being vulnerable with people, and being able to open up and being comfortable with my emotions. I have not had very serious relationships. I've had 2 in my entire life, and I ended both of those. Both of those I had to have the control over, and a lot of the problem in those relationships were that my significant other felt that they were giving something or giving more than I wasn't, and I just did not understand, like what do they want from me? They want me to be someone or something that I'm not. I don't get it. It's just very frustrating. Eye contact was very difficult for me when I was little. I did not speak when I was little. I just didn't. People thought I was mute. I could not. I had a hard time, I mean, I was the oldest of all of my mother's children to speak. I didn't start speaking until I was like 2, just like little words here and there when I wanted something or whatever, when I was, when I was hungry. But I did not want to be touched. To this day, I still do not like being touched. Physical contact really bothers me, unless I initiate it. And even then, it's kind of awkward. But I do not like being touched. by strangers, I mean, even by family members, you know. I don't like being touched. As a baby, my mother always said that the only time that I cried was when I was wet or hungry. I never wanted to be picked up. I never wanted to be held. I always wanted to be to myself, kind of working on some task, you know, like building blocks, or I did a lot of coloring, a lot of drawing when I was younger, so something like that. I just kind of always stayed to myself, and I isolated myself from my family. Even my siblings and we are just recently rebuilding our relationship, because as a child, I never wanted to do anything with them, and they thought that I was just weird, you know? I mean, even when I would behave sort of erratically in front of friends or cousins, they would just, oh, Bree's just weird. She's weird. Just chalk it up to she's weird. She's different. That's just who she is. Let her be her. Let her stay to herself, or she'll be upset. She'll become very angry. And I did, you know, when people would try to hurt, people would try to force me to do things that I did not want to do, it would just frustrate me to the point of anger, like fury, you know. I would just get so furious, and I had a hard time making friends and connecting with friends. And a lot of times Asperger's is associated with social anxiety, or not knowing, you know, certain social norms, not being very comfortable in social settings. It's me. I also suffer from an anxiety disorder. It's coupled with my Asperger's. I do not drive as a result of my anxiety disorder. I freak out at the wheel. I know how to drive, I just don't drive. I freak out at the wheel. I have panic attacks. I'm shaky. My heart rate goes up. I can't breathe. And I've even cried sometimes, to be honest with you guys, because I can't calm myself down. Like, I'm just, okay, breathe, calm down. And it's just like nothing's working. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I feel so helpless in that moment. And it's so scary. And I'm not gonna cry. I also I don't like to cry. I don't feel comfortable when other people cry around me either. I just want to leave, because I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, why are you crying in front of me? This is awkward. This is weird. You're making me uncomfortable. But if you notice any of these signs, I guess you should go get checked out. You know, you're not a freak. You're not weird. You're you. And you know, those little quirks make everybody them. You don't want to be anybody else. But I definitely had to coach myself and build, you know, with exercises and stuff, build a comfortability, and, you know, recognize certain emotions and facial cues as well as social cues, what's acceptable in certain situations and what isn't. But there's still times where I will have, it's an annual thing. I call it the Brianna needs a talking to thing for my family. It's always the same thing. It's, Brianna, you're so insensitive, you're so mean, you're so direct, you're so sarcastic, and I can't help it. I cannot control it. I don't even know when I'm doing it. It's just the way I talk. I'm very monotone sometimes, and it can come off as really bitchy and irritated and very nonchalant and just kind of dismissive, really. And a lot of people who don't know me think that I'm stuck up, that I'm a bitch. And even family members, sometimes they give me the side eye, like, is it your, you know, like, is it your condition that's doing this? Or you really mean what you say? So I have a very hard time being funny and joking with people, because they never, ever can tell when I'm serious or not. So I had to throw in like a little laugh or whatever. And even still, I have very dry sense of humor. So there, it makes it hard for me to connect with people. And what else? I wish I would have written this down instead of just turning on the camera. But I was so anxious and so scared. I had thought about making this video for a really long time, and I knew that if I didn't just do it, that I talked myself out of it, you know. So this video is really all over the place. But is there anything else that I want to talk about? Eye contact. I kind of brought that up. So as a teenager, obviously, I had to get a job. And my first job, it was really bad. Really, really bad. I was a sales associate, and I had to talk to people. I had to initiate conversations, and I had to be comfortable with that. And I lost that job because I wasn't. And I was friendly when I did speak, but I just lacked a confidence, and they were not comfortable with that. So my next job, I worked at Panera. And even then it was a slow sort of build to force myself. I had to force myself, look them in the eye, look them in the eye, look people in the eye, speak up, be loud, be assertive. Cause I'm just not loud. I'm usually not very assertive. I'm obviously direct, but I do not like talking. I forced myself to take debate and forensics in high school. As a way to kind of coach myself into being more comfortable in groups and speaking in public and being loud and assertive, you know. And I excelled at that after about 2 years. After about 2 years, that's when I really started getting really good. It was very slow progress, but I'm much better than I was. I'm not the scared little girl who's afraid to speak anymore, you know? So whenever I go to a job interview or something like that, I always tell myself, look them in the eye, look them in the eye, look them in the eye, smile, be friendly, be personable, ask questions to try to connect, look for their facial cues, and, you know, all that stuff. I mean, obviously it took years to kind of get, and I still have not perfected it. But I'm getting there. It was very hard coming to terms with my condition, with my diagnosis. But at the same time, I felt good because there was a name for it. I didn't feel like such a freak anymore. I didn't feel so weird and different. I'm like, there are thousands of people with this condition, and I feel like just recently a lot more has come about autism and Asperger's, and you know, a lot has been done to direct people's attention to it and kind of educate people. A movie that came out recently that I thoroughly enjoyed was with Ben Affleck. It's called The Accountant. If you haven't already seen it, please do so. It's a good action-packed film. It keeps you in suspense, so it's good for that aspect, but it's also an educational aspect because you see this man from a boy to a man dealing with his autistic behavior. You know, he's really good with numbers. He has a hard time connecting with people. He has a very dry sense of humor. He's very direct and very straight to the point. He doesn't do well with sarcasm or, you know, jokes. And he has a need to finish what he starts. And I felt such a connection with him on that screen because a lot of the things that he dealt with, I dealt with. I was bullied. I was picked on. People thought that I couldn't talk, so they would try to get me to say something. They would pick on me to try to get some type of reaction out of me because I was just all the time. But I wanted to connect. There was just something screaming inside of me, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how. I didn't know what to do or what to say, and I was afraid of being laughed at or screwing something up. So it was just easier to stay to myself and kind of do my own thing. And it's been like that for as long as I can remember. But I try to force myself to do things that are hard, that make me uncomfortable, and try to surround myself with people. But that's it. I know this video was completely all over the place. If you hung with me for the whole thing, I thoroughly appreciate it. I hope all in the BK squad are doing very well. If you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to do so. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about anything in this video, please comment down below. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, you can always hit me up. All of my social media links are down below, as they are always. Make sure to like this video and share it, you know, to kind of get the word out, I guess. And if you identify with this video or you know somebody like this, please share this video. You're not alone. You're not alone. And I really want to encourage people to get healthy and get in a good mental space. So yeah, I think that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned.